All righty. Good evening. This is Tuesday, January 24th, 2023 meeting of the Town of Berlin Planning Board. As a preliminary matter, please note this meeting is being recorded and that some of the attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, that ugly band t-shirt you decided to wear tonight, or anything that you intend to or not screen share on your computer. Anything that you broadcast will be captured and recorded forever and ever, and will possibly wind up as a TikTok video to be shared amongst your friends and neighbors. This is Tom Sanford, Chair of the Planning Board. Permit me to confirm that all members on the board are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. Planning Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jay Teach.
Here.
Timothy Wheeler.
Here.
Carolyn McDonald.
Here.
Thomas Andrew.
Here.
And Tom Sanford. With a quorum of the board present, I call this meeting to order at 7:34 p.m. Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. This is an open meeting of the planning board being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Specific information and general guidelines for the remote participation by members of the public can be found on the Town of Berlin website. The governor's order suspends the requirement of an open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and allows and encourages us to participate remotely. For this meeting, the planning board is convening using a Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, which includes the links for the public to join this meeting. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After the concluding remarks, I'll invite each board member by name to provide comments, questions, penetrating insights, and/or motions. Please hold all your insights till your name is called. Board members and speakers on the agenda, please remember to mute your telephone or computer when you're not speaking. Speak clearly to ensure accurate minutes are recorded. For any response, please wait until you're yielded the floor. State your name before speaking. If board members wish to engage in conversation with one another, please do so through me to avoid multiple conversations at the same time. Lastly, please note that each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thank you all for your understanding and cooperation. First item on the meeting agenda, I will accept a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting that we had.
So moved.
Second.
So I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald.
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler.
Aye.
Thomas Andrew.
Aye.
Jay Teach.
Aye.
And Tom Sanford. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We have a bill, I understand, for publishing. Is that true, Mr. J?
I thought that was last time.
Wasn't that the bill that was CPA and I took it and paid it through CPA?
That was the last one. We had, I thought we had another one that was for publishing. No?
From Eloise for,
There should be one for the meeting last week. The public, oh no, because that wasn't really a public hearing. That was invitation only.
right, and, oh, I know, it's a bill, that's right. Central Mass Regional Planning Commission sent us a
There you go.
bill for $468.58 to cover the printing costs for the postcards for the housing production survey promotion. So I move that we pay $468.58 to CMRPC for that project.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? So Timothy, do you have a warrant?
A sheet, yep.
Yeah, you do? Okay, so can you fill it out and drop it down there? Oh, you'll need my signature as a chair. guess I'll swing down and sign it.
We need 3 signatures.
Uh,
So if I get 3 people to sign it, I can give it to June.
You still need mine as a chair. She may not.
If you weren't at a meeting,
Then the acting chair would have to sign it.
right,
Okay. You can sign it as chair then.
we'll catch up. I'll bring it around.
All right. I'll take the vote. All in favor of paying this bill, Carol McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
I,
Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous to pay the bill.
Thanks for remembering that. I had it sitting right here. I would have remembered it sooner or later. but-
Well, it's
Maybe
on,
tomorrow.
it's on the tomorrow. Yeah, it's on the agenda.
one other item we got for this period is, oh, I lost it. We got a question about marijuana licenses. Ah. Are the limits to number of retail establishments permitted within your city? If so, what are the limits and how many retail permits are currently
Didn't
available?
we cap that at 2 or is it 3?
I think we
It went
voted to
town
cap
vote.
it at, we voted to cap it at 2 and then found out we couldn't because it was a fraction, so we had to round up.
Okay.
It went to 3, right?
I
Oh, I
believe
think you're
that's how
right.
that went.
There's none in use right now.
Correct.
And are there limits to non-retail cannabis establishments?
Like grow facilities?
Yeah,
I don't believe there's limits on that.
I don't think, I don't think there's quantity limits, but they're just kind of where they can put them. True.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't. They can put it in the limited business zone and that's about it, right?
Right. Can you respond to them, Jay? Perfect.
yeah, that was from Olivia Swift from Greenlight Business Solutions.
Okay.
The administrative items we have.
Jay, I think your microphone is being funny again. You know, sometimes you have to get close.
Oh, is it right? Okay, that's probably when I look away from it. Plus I got terrible bandwidth. I move that we fix the internet service. Okay.
There's also this email that's come from the individual that's representing the purchaser of the Booman property on Boylston Road,
Right.
wanting to establish where the town land ends and whether the abutment is on our land or their land. And they've asked a bunch of people how to resolve that.
Wait, this is the boom or baum?
Booman's property.
Uh,
But
On,
it's,
on Boylston Road where the 2 railroad abutments are
Right.
and the driveway goes in between.
so when we bought that property on the railroad right away, I've assumed it started near the abutment, but I don't have any idea, and I don't think any of us do in town. It seems as though someone has to do a survey.
I
When,
think,
go ahead, Tom.
I was gonna say, I think when it was acquired, there was certainly a plan of it available because it was sold from the railroad or MBTA as its successor.
Right.
Um,
Guildford or whatever.
so we should have, I mean, I don't know who would, maybe the assessors, would they hold that? I don't know who would hold the record of that acquisition. Because there should be a plan with that.
I have to go to the assessor's office on Thursday, so I can inquire.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
When they emailed and asked conservation, I suggested they have their property surveyed.
Right.
Um,
I think you need to have a plan in order to
sure.
survey, and the plan itself may be self-explanatory, I mean, it can be pretty, pretty clear. But you have to look at the plan, I think, before you make that assessment. It seems to me that's what they're asking for. Is that right?
Let me search here.
A plan should be at the Worcester County Registry of Deeds anyways.
Yeah, I'm a little puzzled at this request.
I think they're trying to do it on the cheap, because if they hired an engineer, that would be the first thing they would do, to get the copy of the plans all around it.
right.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, yes, you're right. It should ultimately be there. 1, 2, if we want to be user-friendly, there may, the town should have a record of that itself, and we could ask. Otherwise, I think, the answer to that is it should be on file with the Worcester Registry of Deeds, and they should acquire a copy of the plan and make a determination as to whether they want to survey it.
They said, Happy New Year. I'm following up to see if you've been able to find any information on this. They would not be demoing anything to do with the railroad easement, but are wondering if they should add a separate entrance elsewhere if this is going to be used as an easement for the rail trail walking path, since it currently goes directly through the main entrance to their home. Any information on what stage? My assumption was that the line began at the abutment at best and moved northwest and didn't cross Booman's access. Booman's weren't interfered with.
Well, I think actually, if you're talking about the access off West Street,
Right.
it seems to me that
Well, not off
does.
west, off Boylston.
Boylston, sorry. You're right, Boylston. That one would go over, I mean, that one clearly goes over that property from what I remember.
We are wondering if that easement in the area adjacent to the home will be used in the walking rail trail path, mainly to determine if the entrance should move or if it can stay where it is. Any help? I mean, the town never denied Booman's the opportunity to use it. Why would we assume? I mean, I think that their right of way takes some precedence, doesn't it?
Well, I think that I would guess because they built basically a small bridge over it, that they were allowing physical access over an existing easement. So it would seem to me they would have an easement over the property, but it's clearly the property.
I'll chat with the assessors.
Yeah, that'd be probably worthwhile.
Should I put anything about this in the minutes? Because I have not seen it.
No, don't bother.
Have we satisfied that?
Yeah, I was going to look at the assessor's maps. Just give me one more second. What? In a few seconds, you will be I went to the wrong place. Oh. Oh, yeah, I did. Assessors. Maps. Index. Well, when you look at the assessor's map, the railroad bed as it crosses Boylston Road, there's a triangle that would be the first part of that railroad bed that isn't included in the town-owned property. And that's the piece that I would assume is the access for Boomen. But maybe not.
Is the access or is the abutment?
Huh. It's interesting. I think these people own it, but anyway, okay. I'll find out. I'll work with the assessors. Enough of that.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Highland Ridge Certificate of Vote.
Alex Para is here. Would you like me to promote him?
Yes, please.
I think we can sign this all electronically and counterpart.
That's what I was going to ask. Hopefully we can.
For a few $100s, we can get a copy of DocuSign. Or I could watch you all sign it on video and then affix your signature.
Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good, thank you.
So, this change in the A&R plan has had a bunch of knock-on effects. One of which is we have to redo the certificates of vote in reference to, the special permits, so that this a record of essentially a red line change on the open space. So I gave you the revised certificate. The only difference from the one you signed before is essentially the dates of the plan. So there we are. I did speak with email exchange with Meredith Houghton at SVT. They also need to do a new vote, the board of directors. That's February 8th. And then it looks like we're going to be able to close the week of February 13th. So that's where we are.
Alex, that's my birthday.
Oh, well, there you go. I will endeavor to make sure it happens on the 13th.
Well, there you go.
She doesn't need to put her age on the form, does she? Because it's going to be very confusing. 28.
No comment.
This would be my greatest birthday gift.
So Alex, can we do counterpart signatures and send you a stack of
Yes,
PDF
Yeah.
with whatever 5 pages in it?
yeah, I think that would be fun.
Easier, 'cause we're not physically together very much. We'd have to have a party or something to do that. It's all Zoom now.
A super spreader event.
I thought we were
Memorable birthday, though.
maybe not.
Oh, it's a
Right.
birthday party for Carolyn.
I like it.
Okay.
That's
So
it.
we can sign by DocuSign, we can get it circulated around.
That's fine. Great. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Do you need a vote?
Well, we voted to sign the plan. What's the difference?
If you sign the certificate, yeah, I mean, if you want for the
Okay,
if you take the minutes for the record.
I just want to make sure it all
Yeah,
goes
Do it.
smooth. Yeah.
All right.
So I will make a motion that we sign what is it called, Alex? The certificate of vote?
Yep.
certificate of vote corresponding to the plans that we voted on and signed at our last meeting, changing the date of the plans to December 20th.
I believe it's the 22nd, but I don't have it. in front of me.
Oh, might be 22nd, 2022.
Second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will ask you to vote. Callan McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
aye,
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
I,
Tom Sanford, aye.
Thank you very much.
Carries unanimously. Thank you.
We'll get it done.
Good
Bye.
Good night. Good night, Alex.
night. So Jay, how do you want to do it? Do you want to circulate it around? Do you want me to start it? Do you want to, how do you want to do it?
I'm gonna send you all a
You
copy, and all you
you
have to do is
can't, though,
sign it
can't you?
electronically or mechanically, send it back, and I'll send him 5 copies.
You got to do it one at a time though, don't you?
No,
Because
no,
if you-
counterpart copies. That's, everybody signs their spot, and you just stack it together
But how do you compile it?
in a PDF.
Aren't you going to get 4 documents back that all have different signatures?
Yeah, 5. It's called.
So you're gonna have
counterpart.
5 documents in this, okay.
Yeah, it works. I mean, unless
Okay.
it's, it normally is allowed, yeah.
I didn't know whether you could do it, so one signs it, sends it along, another signs it, sends it along, another signs it, sends it along, so you have all of the signatures on one document.
Yeah, it gets a little risky when you do it as a PDF, because sometimes the document gets locked after you sign it.
Okay.
Plus, it's a little more, it's more complicated, and it's not necessary.
Okay,
I'm gonna send it right now, and that way we'll just make a PDF out of it here.
And so we'll sign them and send them all back to
Me,
you. Okay,
and I'll put them in one PDF and send it to Alex.
perfect.
Unless someone else wants to host a party. Cindy's disabled, so we're temporarily on hold.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, unless somebody else wants to hold a party. Cindy's has a moratorium on parties until her arm starts working again.
Oh.
We're trying to accelerate that.
Okay. A couple more minutes before we have the next item.
Is the next one Seth Liston?
Yeah, Summer Road Extension.
I'm not sure if he's coming. So the only thing I could find about that was you told me that we were going to continue a discussion with him, which I didn't have any notes about, but then he responded because I sent the agenda to everyone,
Yep.
and he responded and said, where is it? He said something like, I just wanted to know if that was allowed in town, and I'm not sure what he was referring to. What was it that they wanted? Was it to have the town accept a road or something?
So was it, this goes back, way back, doesn't it, Tim? There was a little spur off the end of Summer Road that was put in that wasn't really legal width, but they had frontage enough for 2 house lots on it. Do you recall? The houses never got developed.
so Hamlin came in years ago with a
Right.
proposal to create a subdivision as an extension on Summer Road and develop 5 house lots, maybe?
Thought it was less than 5, but. I don't
Because
know.
it was that field beyond.
Right,
I also recall conversations about frontage for some of the existing units. Huh, it
Because
wasn't,
this was gonna clean, I thought it was gonna clean up, I thought he was gonna put 3 new houses and clean up the 2 that were existing there.
maybe
that-
that's
that
what, maybe
gave
that's,
frontage.
yeah, they were gonna create full frontage for the existing 2 and create 3 additional lots. Yeah,
Something
maybe
like
that
that.
was it. And so you'd end up with, instead of an inability to turn around very easily, you'd end up with a cul-de-sac.
Correct.
Tom,
Yes.
there's an audience member, it just says Mark, who has their hand up. Would you like me to allow them to speak?
Sure.
Mark,
Hey, Mark Rhodes here. Roy, when he got that approved, the garage or the shed on the right-hand side was gonna be torn down. And then the house that exists on the left-hand side was gonna be torn down as well. And he was gonna build his dream house off to the left. And I
Hmm.
believe it was 5 lots.
I just
Yeah.
got an email from January 3rd from Seth saying, I've been asked to look into the viability of a 2-lot subdivision in which construction requirements for the road are waived to the extent that the road is built to the simple standards of an 18-inch driveway, I guess 18-foot presumably driveway. Stormwater and safety would need to be managed on any plans seeking those waivers. Is there any appetite in Berlin for such a proposal? I think that's probably what he was referring to, what we were continuing, because that was January 3rd. You remember talking about that? I think we did discuss that.
So we didn't discuss it because it was going to, we were preparing for the forum that we had last time,
Oh,
the
okay.
in-person forum. And we decided that we weren't going to muddle the discussion, and we had enough on the agenda to begin with. So we agreed that we'd wait until this meeting to discuss this.
Okay. But I don't know where I can't find the recent email from him that said that he was just kind of exploring it, and I don't think he's planning to attend. The neighbors wanted to know, was what he said, I believe.
Well, I, for one, would like to see at least a little sketch or an idea or plan or whatever they're gonna do. Even
Yeah.
if it's just, crudely marked up on an existing plot plan down there.
I mean, we'd be happy to talk to him. Just,
Right. But we need a little more meat on the
Give us
bone
something to work
than
with.
this.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Mark, are you here for that or something else?
No, I have the 8:15.
All right, I'm gonna put you back in the audience then.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Oh, I found he sent me a text. No, wait, I got a message here. It says there's no plans at this point. The residents have asked a question, so I thought I'd ask if there's any possibility of that being done. Sometimes allow it, etc. So, okay, but let's just keep going.
yeah, I mean.
So I guess the basic question is this something that would be allowed?
Right.
My first question is, where do they gain the frontage?
Right, you would need to see, like you're saying, Tom, some sort of sketch. It doesn't have to be a formal,
No,
we just need an idea of what the extension would be, how many lots, where the frontage would come from, yeah. Where it's the extension of an existing way that, school buses and all this sort of stuff, I would think we'd be looking for some means of turning around.
Well, you had 18
as-
feet is not really wide enough for a road, right? for two-lane.
No,
road.
but I mean, one of the advantages of creating a circle is that you create frontage that's 175 feet on a circle rather than 200. So, they may find that they can accomplish the frontage creation without as much additional asphalt as they might think, so. But yeah, send them, I mean, if you want to send them a note saying we'd be happy to chat at a later date, and if they can supply us with some informal sketch of what they're proposing, that would be great.
Yep. So Mark's online, but we're missing Seth Donahoe for the next topic, right?
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, Jay.
Moving on to the next topic, we have Mark, but we need Seth Donahoe also, right?
Yeah,
Mark's got his hand up once again. Yes.
Seth isn't attending. He's busy tonight. It's pretty simple.
And Gabriella Fossil is in the audience, and we're interested in what we talked about earlier, Tom. So you may want to explain your battle plan to her.
my battle plan.
That's the parcel in West Berlin on 62.
Right.
Similar road situation.
Do you want to take up Mark's now?
Yeah.
We're
I
ahead
don't
of
see any
schedule.
harm.
Okay.
I mean,
We're just
it'll
ahead
run-
of schedule, that's all. Huh?
It'll run over, and I mean, it's going to take we can make it take longer than 10 minutes. And if somebody comes on at 8:15 and says, I came for this, we can say, yep, okay. We'll
Okay.
repeat. Yeah.
All right, so Mark, what do you want to do?
I have Gibbs Road, which was a road that you guys approved a few years back. It's been installed. The agreement we had in the beginning it had to be bindered for the first occupancy and top coated for the final occupancy. And we've completed the task of building the road. In the very beginning, there was a large oak tree on the right-hand side when you're exiting Gibbs Road. And we had a meeting and got permission to move the road in the taking. I met with the former DPW supervisor, went over that with him, went over it with you guys, and there was a one-page blurb, which I could probably find somewhere, that I had you guys sign for me. And the movement of the road was to stay in the taking and was to be addressed at the as-built phase. And that was voted unanimously, signed. And now we're complete. All the houses are occupied. Everything's finished, and the as-bilt's attached on the PDF, and I have printed copies, which I actually drove down. I didn't realize this was Zoom tonight, so I drove down tonight to an empty parking lot. and I said, I'm glad I came early because I was able to get home in time to attend. So that's the basics. So I'd like to get on the warrant with an article from the planning board for the acceptance of Gibbs Road to be accepted by the town of Berlin.
Mark, did you send electronic copies of the drawings?
Yeah, it's attached to the email that Seth sent.
I don't see anything attached.
If you want to shoot me an email, I can. It's on my iPad. I would have to forward it from there.
Okay.
should I do it just to the Town of Berlin Planning Board?
Well, it's planning board, all one word, at townofberlin.com. I can send you,
Yeah, it's on the email. I can have my son go on my wife's computer and forward it over to you guys.
okay. Yeah, I just have his request to attend the meeting. I don't have anything else from him.
And the only other thing we need is a note from the highway superintendent saying that he's reviewed it and it's acceptable to him.
Not a problem. I'll meet with Freddie.
Do we need an action for putting it on the warrant, or can we just put it on the warrant and have our vote later?
The warrant closes the 13th. And we would meet next on the 14th. Right?
Correct.
Correct.
We don't meet once before that?
14th and the 28th, I believe.
15th is the second Tuesday.
It is.
31st is a Tuesday. The warrant article is frozen, according to my notes here, on the 27th.
No, the warrant definitely closes on the 13th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we could put it on the warrant.
We could put it on the warrant.
And then we just have to have a vote before town meeting to say that we had an action and right? We have to do a report to the town.
Right.
So we don't need a vote right now to put it on.
Well, why don't I make a motion that we place the acceptance of Gibbs Road on the warrant for the annual town meeting contingent on the receipt of the proper files, as built and approval by the highway superintendent. Is that
I'd
all right?
second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
That just says if we get what we need,
We'll put it on.
we'll put it on.
Right.
Um,
It means that
And-
as opposed to just putting it on and resolving this in a report, it means that Mark has to get this to us by the 13th.
And then you're correct in that at some point we have, well, for zoning articles, is this a zoning article? Zoning articles, we certainly have to make a report at town meeting. We'd make a report about this one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not I don't think it takes a 2/3 vote, so.
No.
And it could probably be voted on at town meeting without a planning board report, which means that we can't imperil the process. But at some time, we'll vote to formally accept it based on the fact we've received these other articles, I guess.
Yeah, you would vote to support it at that point at
Yeah.
town meeting.
Right.
Right.
And we could vote not to support it, like any article that, and because we do get articles that sometimes we don't support. But we still ask that they get put on the warrant, so that's
Right.
fine.
So I just want to be clear here. We're saying that we're voting to put it on the warrant if we get those materials from Mark before February 13th. That's the substance of the motion, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Are we all set to take a vote?
yeah, sure.
Okay, Carol McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
I,
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll make sure I get that. I'll meet with Freddie first and then I'll forward the rest of the documentation to you guys.
Perfect. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
Good
Mark.
night.
Mark.
Over and out. You can shut me off.
No problem.
Good timing.
So I think Gabriella has the same question. So the advice that we gave Mark is the same for Gabriella.
I would think so. So we need an as-built and we need a report from the highway
Highway
superintendent.
superintendent.
So do you make, are you gonna make a motion for this as well?
Do you want me
I'm
to
just-
promote her first or
Let's
just
promote,
let her?
yeah,
Yeah.
she's.
it
we-
needs to meet all the
I-
requirements, so, I mean, I don't know whether,
Allowed to talk.
what those are.
What, Jay?
It needs to meet all the requirements to be accepted by the town. Here's Gabriella.
Oh,
Muted.
you're on mute.
Daughter signed her name in for me. Yeah, she's good at running this. So I would want to go on the, I built West Street Crossing on it, which is called Pollard Road, Berlin, Mass. It's a 5-lot subdivision. The road has been finished. The 5 neighbors are in. And I was asked, I would like to ask the board, I missed it by, I get a day or so, and this is new for me in this town. But I'd like to, if I could be on the warrant, to have the acceptance of the road. And I'd like to know the procedures, exactly what I need to do to get all this paperwork ready for you, the board.
So did you listen in on what we were saying to
Yes,
Mark?
yes, I did. I listened to the whole thing.
So
Mr.
you're in exactly the same position he is. He has a subdivision road, 5 houses, they're built, the road's finished.
Yeah,
We need to have that information. We need the as-built supplied to us,
yeah.
and we need the highway superintendent to inform us that he's satisfied that the road is built to the specifications he wanted.
Okay, and my engineer is on too, Robert Perenni. I don't know if he joined in yet.
He's here. I can allow him. Let's
He
promote
already
him.
did as-built already. The bounds are already in place, the finished pavement and stuff. Yes.
Here he comes. Mm,
Maybe.
Mr. Parenti, you're muted and your camera's off.
What's the name of the road again?
Pollard Road.
Pollard, right? Pollard.
Yeah, Pollard.
All right, well. I mean, either way, if they're drawn or not, well. There we go. Oh.
for some reason, if he can't get on, is there?
He should be able to talk now.
Come on, Bob.
Oh, oh,
Well, I mean, the message is the same. I mean, we
Yeah.
Okay.
just need verification from the highway superintendent and the plans.
And the as-built, yep.
As built.
All right, so if I need to get a hold of anybody, I contact the planning board? Is that how it's?
If you email planningboard@townofberlin.com, then I get it and distribute it.
Okay, great, sir.
So is somebody gonna make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we place the acceptance of Pollard Road on the warrant of the annual town meeting contingent on the receipt of as-built and letter from the highway superintendent signifying his approval.
before the warrant closes.
Before the 13th of February. So actually, yeah, before the,
Oh,
Okay, do we have a second?
second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask you to vote to put this on the warrant contingent upon our receipt of certain documents. Carol McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
aye,
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
I
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
All right.
Excellent. Alrighty. So our next item on the agenda isn't for till 8:30. But if we want, we can take it up sooner. That's to continue the discussion of allowable uses on 256 Central Street.
is Andy
Sure.
available?
Wanna do that?
That's nature's best.
No, that's where the Tobbs, old Tobbs place.
yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, Nature's Best was there.
That was the name of their flower selling, Christmas tree selling business.
Oh,
Which
Wait,
one?
no.
Sorry. I thought they were planning on attending.
Yeah, Annie was supposed to attend.
Right, you said 8:30?
Yeah, I said 8:30.
Okay, so it might just be a little early,
Yeah, maybe.
because right now we are the only ones here.
We can skip around. We had bylaw changes at 8:45. If we'd rather discuss that.
Sure.
What you
Was
got?
there anything in particular that we wanted to?
I
change accordingly?
sent Carolyn that ARC bylaw
Yep.
a little bit ago. Maybe she can share that.
I certainly can. Let me make sure that's still open. I can, but I think our 8:30 has just arrived,
Oh, good.
since we haven't started the other conversation.
Be good. Yep.
Maybe he logged in and then went to get a cup of coffee.
We wanted to put our sign bylaw modifications.
Has
in-
that been hammered out?
No, but I was wondering if we wanted to try to get something prepared, could we put something in as a placeholder and just have to get it done by May? So it doesn't go out another year.
I mean, I'm pretty confident there's gonna be a town meeting in the fall, because I've been suggesting that for a while now, and I think that there's more receptivity to it. They want us to give them a pretty tight final proposal when we submit the warrant articles, because we used to go in and say, well, we'll give it to you later, and they've become tighter about that now.
Yes.
So this one might be tricky for us to try to, well, I mean, if in principle, we could agree with what the parameters were and we could come up with some ideas, but I'm not sure how fast we could do that.
Right, and I'm not sure that I know, let me rephrase that. I know that I don't know enough of the terminology that we would need to have to be able to make sure that what we're asking people to accept is really what it is that we're envisioning. And I also know that,
Something Big and then fill in the blanks later.
come closer, come in.
No, my microphone's not working today.
I don't know.
We would have to do something big and then fill in the blanks later. But it sounds
Right.
like that's not gonna fly, right?
Right, and I also know that it's probably gonna be at least a year before the school is looking to truly do anything. I think last night at the select board meeting, I believe they asked to spend the money that they had for the sign a different way, because the sign has been moved further down the list because of some of the things that are happening with the organization, should we say.
Hmm.
So as far as there doesn't seem to be the rush that there was.
I mean, I feel badly that we haven't hammered this around more, but let's sort of promise ourselves that we'll get it going, so we've got something for the fall, and
Yeah, that makes sense.
because we can do it. Yeah. Especially if what you're saying has been a change in their priority. I mean, that makes it a little easier for us to spend a little more time and get it right.
Right.
Yep.
Annie's here now, it says.
Yep. don't know. When I promote you to a panelist, you then have to accept that promotion, true?
Yeah.
Right, so I have tried to promote both of them and it has not been successful.
They're
Oh,
gone.
oh, there we go.
You did it.
Yay. Some days it's the small wins.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
I,
Hi, how are
Hi.
you?
Good, good. How are you guys?
Good, thank you.
Am I supposed to start talking? Sorry.
Sure.
Okay, so I asked Jay that we want to join this meeting again because we want to bring up again the about developing the property, the 256 Central Street. Like what I mentioned in the email, we haven't done any like new drawings or anything because we want to know first what you guys think, what you guys want to see in the property. So me and my brother-in-law, which is also here in Zoom, we talked about it with my husband, we talked about it. And after attending that meeting about the housing and stuff, so we come up with two things. Either we can do a senior living in the property or that commercial residential combination. We really want to move forward onto something to develop the place. Hopefully, we can get an answer and then we'll go from there.
How much actual buildable land is there?
2 acres.
So when you say a senior residential facility, what were you envisioning?
I'm not sure if you're familiar, like on the way from, how you call it, like in 290, like the beginning of 290, there's like on the side over there that.
That new facility?
Correct, yes. It doesn't need to be super big as our property is, like limited, but I think that would be a good option too as well. Then that will help with the senior population in town as well.
so I'm trying, we have a senior overlay district that people have used to create over 55 projects, which is a little different from what you're talking about. That requires acreage that's greater than yours, so the door wouldn't be open in this case for that option. There's no provision. I'm trying to think of avenues. There's no provision in the bylaw per se for senior. I mean, you'd be talking about a single structure with multiple occupants who so it would have to be a new section to our bylaw probably. Now, proposals have been made for additional over 55 projects of the scale that like Brook Lane is, or, you know, Highland Ridge.
Mhm.
And the most recent one that came to us was defeated at town meeting. I think people felt that we have 2 over 55s and we have Northbrook 1 and 2, and collectively they represent over 200 units of over. I mean, you could say it's over 55. It's senior housing essentially. So there's
Mhm.
a significant percentage of our total housing stock is in senior housing right now. I mean, if there's, let's say there's 1,600 total units in town, 200 are senior housing, 200 are in Riverbridge, and between the co-housing project on Sawyer Hill and the Dudley Road projects of affordable housing, you know, there's another 150. So, you know, over a third of our housing is tied up in just those 3 categories. So it might be a hard battle to go to town meeting and focus on another type of zoning that would allow for senior housing. Now,
Mhm.
Tom Sanford and I talked recently about a provision in our bylaw that went in years and years ago. And we looked at it recently and we said it didn't seem as though it was as complete as we both remembered, I guess. But it suggested that someone could build a structure that appeared to be a single family structure, and they could have as many as 4 living units in it, provided all were affordable. So they met the criteria that the state establishes for affordable housing, which means that someone that lived there would earn 80% of the mean income for the area. But in looking at the language in the bylaw, I don't think Tom and I, either of us, felt that it was complete yet. That there wasn't anything in the use chart that provided for it. There was a definition that probably needed to be enhanced in the definition section, but we can't find that we ever put it into the use chart, which surprised us. But so that's, you know, if I was going to give you advice, I'd say that in the long run, that might very well be something to pursue. Changing the zoning of 2 acres to commercial village when all the land around it is residential agricultural is not usually what a town would do. You'd look at changing the zoning of an expansive district. You know, you'd say these multiple lots and multiple ownerships might be changed at the same time. And I don't think the planning boards had an appetite for changing the zoning along Route 62 as it leaves 495 and comes into town, to change it to commercial village, because there were conversations about that in the past when the facility that was Wilson's Garden Center was for sale, and people wondered about having that rezoned to commercial, and we didn't feel that that was something the town would support, and we weren't confident about it either. So, I mean, the vet was a use that could be allowed in a residential agricultural zone, so they moved in there instead, and that worked out well for them. So that's off the top of my head anyway. That's a thought anyway.
Right, especially given that the balance of the property is conservation land. That would be an even harder sell.
So. So what do you guys want to see in, like, I mean, let's say, okay, so senior living, it's out in, it's not considerable, and now the commercial residential option too as well. Well, like a like, how about like a condo, like, a duplex condo? Will that work?
So there's no language in our bylaw now that provides for duplexes. We've talked about it in the past, but
Mhm.
we haven't, there's never been a groundswell of interest. I'm trying to remember what the housing survey asked people, I think, about duplexes, and they didn't come up high on the list.
Mm.
There was a kind of a favorable response to that because we don't really have any in town.
Let's look at what the survey said.
I was just checking. I think last time we talked, we went through to see what was already allowed. Anybody remember that?
Yeah, ice houses and
Steel and
some.
natural products, which was what grown in the.
Jay,
town.
you're gonna have to talk louder.
Let me figure out why my microphone's not working.
Yeah, duplexes got 11% support for desirability, 30% somewhat desirable, and 59% not desirable. Huh. Cottage, medium-sized accessory dwellings, accessible housing for people with disabilities, assisted living.
Right, because the other thing you need to think about, Annie, when you're talking about especially multiple residences, is the septic system.
Mhm.
What kind of septic system would that property support?
Mhm.
So, and I know I can't answer that question for you, but that is before you, if you decide that that's the direction you wanted to try to go in, it would be worth investigating what kind of septic the property would support before you went too far down that path and
Oh,
spent too much money going that way.
oh, that's the thing. That's why I wanna, like, try to get ideas from you guys, because if I go to an engineer and have them draw plans, because, like, I want to see this in my property, I want to see this in my property, but then if I go have a drawings and I'm gonna be spending money on it, I'll present it to you guys, and it's like, oh, that's not even doable and stuff like that. So
Well,
that's why, yeah, trying to
that's
see.
exactly what I'm saying, is
Yeah.
it may be worth going to the Board of Health and finding out what you need to do to find out what kind of septic system that property will handle, and
Mhm.
what are the most what's the most number of units you could put,
Okay.
No, that's very good advice, because whatever we say is a matter of bylaw. Even if we changed it, if the land won't support it, it's not going to do you any good.
Okay. Okay. I will do that. I'll work on that one.
right, because it may be that all that property will support is a single family home,
Yep.
and then that gives you your answer as to what you can do on that property.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Seems that what's allowed currently is basically what's down there now. Agricultural product sales and dog kennels. Since nobody wants a sawmill or an ice house now.
Ice house would be kind of cool. Could turn the barn into an ice house.
Yeah, and if you had a sawmill, you'd have enough sawdust to preserve the ice. So there
There
you
you
go.
go.
Well, I wonder if you
Hand
can
in
sell,
hand.
if the ice you sell has to be made on the premises or can be brought in.
Good luck with that.
We'll just probably have it like a farmer's market location,
Mhm.
and I think it will be a great for the
Yep.
meantime. Yeah, be a
Yeah, I
great-
mean, previously it was, agricultural products, marketing, and single family. That's what it was.
Mhm.
So we've talked about new housing options and maybe we'll make some progress on changing zoning for that. But even then, it's only 2 acres, right? So
As far as I remember, I'm not too positive about it. I gotta have to how you call it? I gotta have to dig up again
I thought it was
and
closer.
the Waterman's designs, but I believe it is 2 acres. That's because the rest is like conservation pretty much and
Right, between the conservation restriction and the wetlands that are there. It's like a 5.5 acre lot,
Mhm.
but most of it is not accessible one way or another.
Right, but I thought it was gonna support 2 single family houses, because you can add acreage that's in conservation to get to your 2 acre or whatever, 80,000 square foot minimum per house, right?
If the property will support 2
Right.
septics and 2 wells.
Right.
But I think your point is that if they have the acreage, which they appear to, and if they have the frontage, which, they could subdivide on an A&R basis possibly.
Right, I think that's likely that they could split it into 2.
Well,
single
except
lots if there's,
they couldn't have, if all they have is 2 buildable acres, they could not put the second house on land that has a CR on it,
No, of course not.
oh,
right?
No, they would have to divide it up so that, 1 acre and some conservation land was 1 lot, and 1 acre and some conservation land was another lot, and the building would have to occur in the unrestricted portion. But,
Right.
it's, I guess it's theoretically possible looking at it at a very high level.
right, because the unrestricted land is out towards the road, so that's, which is where the frontage is. And you just put 2 houses right on the road. And the remaining acreage is taken.
Right. But again, I think Carolyn was spot on in terms of what to look at first,
Mhm.
is to look at the capacity of that land to support.
Mhm.
If it had the capacity to support 2 wells and 2 septic systems, then you would go to the second stage of saying, okay, can I divvy up this land in a way so that I have 2 places where I can build a house on unrestricted land and still create 2 lots that satisfy the zoning requirements as to area and frontage.
Okay.
Right, but that would definitely be my recommendation.
Okay. Thank you. Gonna have to discuss it with my partners. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, if we're all set with that, the next is the ongoing discussion of bylaw changes that we had an arc piece that you were going to put on the screen.
Yeah, I'm just. All right, share. Oop, oop. There we go. All right. Want to just start at the top or,
Sure.
all right. Right, so, well, let me just kind of show how long the list is. And Tim and I were thinking that if this is too many to do all at one town meeting, that maybe we take some of the older properties and do those first at this town meeting and kind of catch up.
I would do the
Might
ones
be.
that are most sensitive to you to get into ARC.
Right, I believe. So the two Bonazzoli pieces don't have an additional CR,
But they are town land though.
but they are town land.
And they're the connection between Morse and land that's already in ARC that wanders back over to Lyman Road. So strategically, they may make some sense.
Right, the Tyler piece has a CR on it. So do you know if Pierce has a CR on it?
It's town land,
But that's different,
but I don't believe it came with a CR.
right? So I think that one certainly would be a priority.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if Morse has a CR on it or not. Bonazzoli doesn't. Horseshoe Pond does, Highland Ridge will, Benson does, Wolf does.
The Lyman Road piece doesn't. That's the piece right there at the town line that
Right.
connects the Pierce piece to the Bonazzoli pieces and creates the corridor all the way from Pisgah to Crosby Road.
Right. So I think that piece would be a good piece to do. So what were you thinking with this piece?
Well, they've got land that's protected on the map, that on their plans. I guess that's one I wouldn't move forward with at this time.
Right, so that must be a CR.
I would think there must be a CR, but we could wait on that one.
Right,
This 30,000 square feet, there's land that belongs to the MDC, that's the connector from Pleasant Street to the Brewer Brook Dam.
yeah,
That we don't show as ARC on our maps. And so, because people are parking there all the time and using that as their access, it seemed like we might as well show it on the map as ARC.
okay. This piece has a CR on it. This piece does not. This, I think, would be a good one also to do.
And that's the connection that goes from Ball Hill by the stable to Divine's land in the back, right?
Right, and there's no real elevation on that, right? Just
No.
because if, depending on what's going on with the Verizon thing, that
Right.
would not be a site that they're looking at.
Well, I mean, it's above Maplewood.
Can you guys see the map?
Yep.
Okay. So. No, it's not that
No.
one. No, Derby, I'm
You
over
gotta
a
click-
road, right, it's this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that one isn't in ARC yet. And the Divine piece that's listed there is, but the land in front of it that has the house on it and an excluded piece on the assessor's plan isn't.
Right,
That one may pay to wait, just same as Sawyer Hill. It's a little more complex
right.
in terms of defining the meets and bounds.
So. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to waiting on this one. To see if. Just trying to see what the elevation is, so it's about 500 feet. Where am I? And, oh, so Rattlesnake Hill's the same height.
Okay,
So that wouldn't, that's not as important.
all right.
Uh,
The Dudley Road ones are all little tiny, well, I mean, one's 8 acres, but the majority of them are just tiny little things, so they're not probably as important. There's a strip along North Brook in between the railroad that's must have got picked up by the town at some point and seems appropriate for inclusion in ARC. There's some other pieces that are along there too, but it may not be as high a priority. The Lancaster Road and Peach Hill Road parcel was that Pendergast? That's 30 acres? And it's
Well,
town-owned.
let's go back to our magic map. It might, because it might be part of 40 Caves. Oh, geez, I keep doing that. Sorry. Oh. Okay. So where is it? Wait a minute. Where
See
is
the
it
one
again?
that says,
Peach Hill.
Oh, Peach Hill.
yeah, see the one that says Woodlot Forest?
Wendler Forest.
Oh, is that what it says?
Yeah.
My eyes aren't very, Wendler
That's
Forest,
it. Yep.
that's not in ARC.
Oh, that should be. I mean, it
Okay.
does have a CR on it, but.
Yeah,
Right, so
okay.
that was the Wendlers.
Yep, good.
Yep. And then what about these ones? So the town owns that.
Then stop doing
Sorry.
that.
Sorry. Yes,
Over there by Mucci Woods,
yeah,
if you go to the left,
yeah,
these miscellaneous pieces are not in ARC.
okay. So those definitely have conservation restrictions on them that are co-held with SVT. Actually, SVT co-holds the Wendler one also.
Okay,
But these two, if these two and this one,
those are
alright.
already in, I think.
okay. Right, and this is the little piece on North Brook you were talking about.
No, other
No,
side,
this
that
one?
big, that one there, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sizable.
It actually,
That one's already in.
Okay.
I think.
and I assume the Clark Reservation already is also,
Yep, as well as the MDC land in front of it.
yeah. We still had more, sorry.
So those Lancaster
right.
Road ones are all the pieces around 40 caves, the majority of them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is really just a housekeeping issue. Yes,
Yeah, I think it does two things. One is it places that on the zoning map. So when you look at the town and you look at the zoning map, you see more clearly those protected pieces. And on here, we've got some sizable parcels, 30, 40 acres, and those aren't on the map. And so at a glance, you get the impression that there's not as much protected land actually as there is. So I think it's helpful from that perspective. And then the other part of it is that it just adds another layer of protection. The CRs on it, that's significant protection, but the fact that the town votes to put it in ARC, to me, just adds to that. So
Is there any
Agreed.
tax implication?
we can never hear what you say.
Is there any tax implication?
No, because it's already in the CR, so, it's already being taxed that in that fashion, so.
and all of the ones that we're talking about are also already held by the town.
Yeah, that top list, Tyler's the town, Pierce is the town, Morse is the town, Bonazzoli's the town, Horseshoe Pond's all the town, Highland Ridge and Benson are not. So if we wanted to just stick with town-owned property this time, we could certainly do that. We could just tackle those pieces that are in the hands of the town.
Right.
That would include the 8.37 on Lyman
So
Road.
that one, this
Um,
one. Well, does the town? Who actually owns this
That's
piece?
MDC, and that one I'd be inclined to include. Divine isn't, Ball Hill Road is, Bernstein isn't, Dudley Road, those are, but, they probably are more confusing for people right now in terms of trying to present it at town meeting.
That one is,
And
That
I've
one.
included that one twice, so that's that important one, that's Wendler Woods, right?
right,
And then the last ones on Lancaster Road are all town land.
right.
So when we could do it that way if you want. That might be the easiest way to explain at town meeting.
I like it.
No one else cares.
Well, I mean, do
I'll-
we
I'll make
want a motion?
that-
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that the parcels that are on this list that are held in the hands of the town be included in the agriculture, recreation, conservation zone or district, district.
Second,
So that would not include Benson or,
Berenstein or Divine. Or Sawyer Hill
right,
or Wolf
we'd wait on all those, or
Right.
Highland Ridge.
or Highland Ridge.
Okay, that's my motion.
And Tom seconded.
yep,
I'll third.
Don't need
go
it.
for it.
You don't need that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye,
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye,
Thomas Andrew,
Aye,
Jay Teach. And Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
excellent.
Now we can't hear you at all. Jim.
Yeah, I know, it's like.
He's gonna sign.
Oh, no, it's a public meeting.
Gonna censor it, censor our sign language.
I
Oh.
looked away for a moment. Was that some good old American Sign Language we got? Or?
It was Jay's best effort.
Yeah. Well, that concludes everything that's on the agenda.
I sent Carolyn another attachment for battery storage.
Oh, you mentioned that you were going to, but I haven't actually seen it.
It's on that same page.
Is it?
Yeah,
Alright.
the two pieces look like they're stuck together, but
Hold on, let me see what I can find. Oh, I see. All right, let me share my screen again.
so I've got to be careful of this one because I could potentially benefit. So I'll tell you some of the history and then I'll stay out of it because I'm not going to vote on this. The building inspector and I talked on occasion about the fact that there are proposals in some of the towns that are in our region for battery storage units that are, box trailer size, sometimes associated with ground mounted photovoltaic fields, other times independent of those. He talked about individuals that he knew that were acquiring property with the goal of placing this type of battery storage on the site at some later time. I talked to the fire chief and he said he was familiar with this from his time in Hopkinton, and he wants to make sure that they're cited properly with the right references to state fire code and all that sort of stuff, which makes a lot of sense. At the Regional Planning Commission level, it started with conversations from folks from Charlton a couple of years ago who were saying that they had proposals for battery storage in their town, and they were trying to develop language to deal with those and citing requirements and all. So it seemed like the noise level was increasing. And so I've looked at language from multiple towns that's been approved already. And then Blue Wave has gotten into the picture. Blue Wave is what's his name? He was Secretary of Environmental Affairs for the state. Villers, DeVillers.
Village, yep.
Yeah, he's involved with Blue Wave, and they've been working on battery storage in and around the region, and they reach out to farmers. So some people have reached out to us as a farm and said, do we want to have more solar on our farm? And we've said, well, no, because we've got one field, that's enough. And we're not convinced yet that solar and ag can work together. And I mean, if it did, we've already got the provision in our bylaw that says parcels over 50 acres that protect half of an equal amount of land to what's going to be in a solar project could go forward like POTUS did. So those opportunities are there for farmers. So if a farm wanted to move forward with that, they could use that part of the bylaw. But battery storage more and more seems to be something that's trying to be associated with solar fields because of this problem of supply and demand. And it's a sort of a reality that as the battery storage sort of technology improves, there's going to be proposals that are going to be thrown at us. So this is, in this language, it's a definition of what small scale and regular battery storage is, and then it talks about the whole process of siting and on
Right.
and on. So
I guess, Tim, what I would say is this, sort of what we said about the sign bylaw. It doesn't seem to me as though we could get something, cogent and agreed together by the 13th of February, but I would be willing to take on as a project, looking at this and some samples and try to move us along toward a consideration of this in a fall meeting.
sounds good. Yeah, what you have here, Carolyn, is this is the current language that's in there for solar voltaic. So the first page is really the text.
Okay,
that
right.
we've
So
picked up
everything
on.
else is already what we have.
Yeah, and this is
Okay.
just stuff that's been lifted from other towns. It's already been approved by the Attorney General. So it's basically definition, and then you add some language that accommodates the fire chief and all that, and then you throw it into the table of uses at some point. So, but I think Tom's idea is appropriate. I think we don't want to put it off too long, because I think it's going to be heading our way. And like the sign stuff, we could continue to work on it over the course of the next 6 months and throw it on a fall town meeting.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to sort of take, a lead scribe on it and see what we can do.
Awesome.
Good.
So I will, Thomas, I will send this to you.
Great.
And I know one thing that I would be looking for to have in there would be screening
Yeah.
and what. And
So what it
definition.
does, it refers to the ground mounted, what it does is it changes the ground mounted solar voltaic language to include battery storage. So everything that's required in the ground mounted would be required of battery storage. So all
Same
that
screening and all of that.
screening,
Yeah,
bonding.
the screening is pretty vague. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can, I mean, throw those
Tighten it
things
up at the
me
same
and-
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, we should learn from what happened in the POTUS property, because that screening didn't go well.
Yeah,
well, exactly.
I don't understand that at all, because to me, the language still in our bylaw says it's to be screened. And
Right, but
don't
what,
understand.
but in what manner? Are we putting up a fence? Are we putting plantings? If we're putting plantings, how
Well, to the-
dense, how,
Yeah.
whatever the Board of Appeals says, which to me would have meant leave the tree line that was there.
right,
I think we need to be more specific, because I think they ordered 3-inch trees online and planted a couple dozen of them.
agreed.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
yeah,
it's when, how large the trees have to be at the time they're planted, and how wide does the
Yeah.
Well, this
stretch
is,
of trees need to be, not just how long it is. And
it's similar to the lesson that we learned across from Tom.
Yep.
Right,
What was that?
right,
When they put that common driveway in, they were supposed to put screening in, and they put 3 little Charlie Brown trees, and they died like 6 months after they started.
right. And I think if in the bylaw, there is wording that says leave natural, leave a 10-foot buffer.
Yep.
From the tree of existing vegetation. You
Yeah.
know, that.
Yeah,
that
we can fiddle with that.
The vague,
Yeah.
Yep.
vagueness out.
So this
Yeah.
may give us an opportunity, like you're saying, to look at that whole bylaw, because that was written a decade ago, almost, and times have changed, so we should catch up with the technology probably. Yeah, good.
Well, while we're doing this, would it make sense to look at electric vehicle charging stations, which are going to become more prevalent, presumably,
Mhm.
since we need another million of them from the number we have now?
Yeah,
Well, and it also raises some questions about, and you know, we've talked about this before, the regulation of small scale solar, and where that's to be located, and in, you know, small scale battery storage too. So, yeah. Good.
Right, and personal, I mean, is that any, more and more people will want to put personal battery storage. Does that come under small scale, or is that something that is just the building inspector and none of our business?
I think if it was battery storage in connection with a residential use, not, you know, for commercial, it would not be part of, it would already be allowed under the bylaw. I think if what you're saying is if somebody wants to, instead of putting in a generator, put in a battery pack so that if they run out of power,
Or if they want to go completely off the grid and they put all solar on the top of their house and they want to make sure they have enough battery storage to withstand rainstorms, or, you know,
Yeah.
get through the
Or
winter or
charge their
whatever,
car.
or charge their car
Oh,
and
yeah.
or charge their car.
Or their
Uh,
tractor.
or their
or their
tractor.
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I think those are all residential uses, but you know, while we're looking at it, we can look at that.
Great.
So, yeah. All right, so I'm hearing, you know, let's look at batteries reasonably broadly. Okay?
Great.
Perfect.
You know what happens if you poke a steel rod through a lithium ion battery, like in a car accident?
Blows
Uh,
up.
I don't, do you?
It explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what happens if you know, get in a car accident and you hit the gas tank and a spark happens? It explodes.
Good point.
Catches on fire first, and then it'll explode, but
Right.
you have time to get out of the car.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, the fire in front of Village Power where the van was on fire, it burned for, you know, half an hour probably, and nothing happened. I mean, it didn't explode.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's harder to explode a car than the movies tell us it's fairly easy,
Exactly.
like tip over and boom, but
Yeah.
good.
So that
And what-
means if you drive an electric car, don't carry steel rods with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's fair. And don't drive a 1974 Pinto either, so.
Right, right?
All right.
So I wonder where, are we likely to see commercial electric car charging stations? I mean, from what I've been reading, it's not that likely because I think the way the economics are going, it's not going to be economical unless you own like an energy company. But it is possible that people with, you know, people with 2 acres of property on a main road might decide they want to put a bunch of EV chargers in and make money off them.
Hmm.
You know, if the economics change for some reason, which they might.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then should we have some kind of regulation over that? I mean, maybe we should.
Yeah.
It's like a parking lot, I guess, but.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right,
Yeah, let's roll that into it.
Good.
I
right.
think we should put it
because-
in the AR districts. So we can have an unlimited number of those because we need money to keep our farms going.
But good point in that, like, I was just thinking on Bigelow, if they ever figure out what they're doing there, would we, would we want them to put in EV chargers? Would we encourage, discourage, like what would, for businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's more likely, if you think of where would it make sense now, it would make sense where the Reese's package store still stands,
Right,
right?
Yep.
yeah,
Right across from the gas station. So you can either fill up with gas in 5 minutes or fill up with electricity in an hour.
Yep.
right.
Well,
But
and-
both
and
right
ma-
off the highway, major travel.
Yeah, and maybe we should be talking to Solomon Pond Mall and Highland Commons about what they foresee
Yeah.
at their sites.
So Highland Commons does, behind Panera, there's a bunch of Tesla chargers.
That's right.
5, yeah,
Yeah,
which are getting used.
oh, yeah,
But
What'd you
that's
say?
Hudson, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is Hudson.
it is Hudson.
I'll
I
ask the
think-
commission
yeah.
if they've seen anything in regard to zoning that's tied to charging.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, I
Right.
think that actually when we spoke to the gas station that's on the corner of Old 62 and 62, that we actually mentioned that to them as they were looking at expanding parking to put in
Right,
electrical charging stations, if I remember correctly. I think
Right.
that was my
Yep.
first meeting. that-
Yeah, you
Yeah.
made that pretty clear, I thought, to them that that's something they needed to look at seriously, so.
right,
Yeah.
because didn't they have 2 chargers
Right.
Yeah,
One,
something.
yeah.
or one? Yeah,
yep. And, and to me, if you've got, food and a little grocery store, it may be quite compatible to have somebody have to be there for half an hour or 40 minutes,
right,
so.
Yep.
In regard to zoning, if we're done with that one,
I think so.
CPA has 2 issues that they need to run by you guys. So may I?
Yes.
You may.
So the 8.5 acres that belong to Beto on Carter Street in Berlin that winds up to the top of the hills for sale, like we talked about it at past meetings. The Community Preservation Act Committee talked about last time we met, and we'll vote next Tuesday on the expenditure of $250,000 out of CPA housing money to acquire part of that property, and an additional 100,000 out of CPA for open space, which would give us 350,000. They want somewhere around 400,000, 395. We've been throwing around the idea of using 50,000 from the housing partnerships pool of mitigation money that's come into them over the years. And that money, the decision about how that money is spent is up to the planning board. So,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
We can,
Who
we can-
wrote that?
Well, we've controlled, yeah, thank you, Thomas. You remember, don't you, huh?
I do.
So what appetite does the planning board have to expend $50,000 worth of housing partnership money that came for mitigation to help with affordable housing? What the thought would be is that we'd buy the house and the land, separate 2 acres out with the house, offer the house to a third party, have them buy it, rehab it, put the necessary restrictions on it so it remained as an affordable unit in perpetuity, and then jumped onto our subsidized housing inventory. I think the suggestion is that it would have to sell for around 265,000 to remain as an affordable unit. And And so if we could sell it to some third party for 100,000, that could be returned to CPA. And then if they threw 100,000 into it, they could still pull some profit out of it at the end of the day.
Condition is it in?
It's in very good condition, which surprised us. The Title V passed. Carolyn and I walked it with
Kevin Pond.
Kevin Pond and James Holyoke. And Carolyn probably wants to chime in about the state of the house, because she has a keen eye for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's a general contractor, so I grew up looking at these things. It definitely needs a good clean out. It definitely needs a kitchen. And those are like the two definites. Most of the wiring has been replaced. The panel still needs to be replaced, and it all needs to be cleaned up. It was kind of a spaghetti mess around the panel. But it's, you know, updated wiring. Most of the plumbing is PVC, so that's been updated. There's some questionable plumbing fixtures in the basement, but there's washer and dryer on the first floor, so anything, like there's some random shower in the basement.
Yeah.
Not really sure why that's there, so that would have to come out. There's a
Oh, it's probably because they lived in it in the basement when they built it.
Could be.
When was it built? 50s or?
no,
no,
in the
no.
20s.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah,
All new windows,
all new windows,
floors are good.
all new sheetrock. Yeah, the floors are in
Lead
good
paint?
shape.
What's on the siding?
Vinyl in good
Vinyl.
shape.
Vinyl. Well,
Yep, it's a fieldstone on top of concrete block on top of fieldstone foundation, and it's all been repointed, and there was dry as a bone when we were in there, and it had just rained, like it was wet, everything was wet outside.
Yep.
How's the roof?
Roof's good.
Roof's good. Looked like there probably was a attic fan in the gable end in the back, and there's nothing there now, and by nothing I mean nothing. So I'm surprised more critters haven't taken up
Taking
residence.
refuge? Mhm.
So you can walk into the cellar, which is unfinished, but as Carolyn said, in real good shape, other than packed full of stuff. Then if you go up outside stairs, you come into the main kitchen. And you can also come off a porch into the kitchen. The porch, someone would have to decide whether I think you could probably keep it because the underpinning just needs to be restored, but someone else may say, eh. But access, the doors were new, windows were new. Only the first floor is finished. The second floor, which had sort of a door that dropped over the stairs that would go up to the second floor. The second floor was unfinished and restricted in terms of headroom, but there's the possibility of someone at some point in the future, I don't know as you do it at this point, but someone might add a dormer window here or there. And in fact, there's another house in Carterville that has dormers that's the same style as this house that obviously someone decided that was a way to get access to the second floor and make it more habitable. So that's
so is there a way to keep this as affordable forever?
yeah.
There is.
Yeah,
Deed restricted.
Yeah.
right.
And so what goes parallel with this is that we voted to create a housing trust. There's a notice in the census material that went out that says we're looking for 5 members for a housing trust. The select board's going to announce that as 5 vacancies. There are 4 people right now that have indicated an interest in serving that I think would make good candidates. And I think we could probably attract the fifth person, but if the housing trust were populated in the next month, let's say, then at town meeting time, they'd be able to pick up this project and move it forward. If the money was there to expend on the purchase.
And the other bonus to this is that the back land would be put into conservation. And if you're standing at the general store looking towards Powder House Hill, this is half of that property,
Hmm.
half of the treed property that you're looking at.
And
Nice.
I would certainly like it if we had a reserve to put a water supply for
Yeah.
up
So you
there
put-
too.
Right, so that was mentioned the other day too. What's the deal with that?
What do you mean, what's
Because,
the deal with that?
well, if we have a water tower, that then,
No, you're talking about a water tower or a well?
I'm talking about a well.
Yeah.
oh, somebody said to me water tower before.
No.
And I
I'm
was
talking
like,
about, I'm talking about a
for
well and
town
reserve.
buildings.
Exactly, so that
Oh,
if we needed
absolutely.
something for the library or the 1870 town hall, or,
Yeah, absolutely.
so
Yeah,
that I'm
and-
just saying that that's an advantage of taking that land out of play.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if we could, if somehow we could work with the property owner for the other half, that other half abuts the Powder House, the property
Yeah.
that the Powder House is on. And this adds connectivity to the trails that are at Highland Ridge.
Hmm.
So those trails would come down right across Carter Street and then right into downtown.
Yep,
And so the only link that would be missing, if that other property was either an easement was picked up or actual outright purchase of parts of it so that the lot remained viable. Faith's land interrupts access between those properties and the town hall. We could get access to the Powder House property from the other two, but if we could get an easement from Faith just to simply walk, a 20-foot easement on her property line as it goes up against
hmm
Eric and
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That would make your path continuous.
Yeah. Well, in the interest of cutting to the chase, since it's now 9:30, I would certainly be in favor of expending, the planning board affordable housing mitigation, provided that we could, secure that one property by deed restriction. I think it's justifiable, and there's lots of follow-on benefits beyond that.
Well, I think it enhances the value of everybody's property in Carterville. It
Mhm.
gives them open space that, those small lots can begin to utilize a little bit and stuff, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
The only
now-
thing I would just say, do we want it to be more than $50,000? Because by allotting for exactly the asking price, that doesn't give us any money for legal stuff.
Yeah, all we've got now is surpluses would be 5,000, so that probably wouldn't be adequate.
And why would you offer full price? I mean, right now the market's dead.
Well,
I mean, really dead.
right.
We don't know what the potential is for this parcel. It has been proposed to be subdivided before.
Yeah.
And we could pull out that plan that would show what that would have meant. I think it meant two additional house lots and the one that was there, which if house lots are 200,000 apiece, then, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Well, I don't think they are anymore.
right, and
You need
the
septic and
property
well
owner,
for them.
the property owner is acting in good faith, allowing us to, waiting to town meeting. We can't even sign an offer
Right.
right now
Hmm.
because there's no
Right.
Mhm.
fun, you know what I mean? So, that's what they're asking, and I think it's reasonable, and I don't know that we should play games over, what, $25,000.
I mean,
And
we were
risk.
in this position with South Common and that 6-acre parcel, so
Yep.
revisiting that is
yeah.
not something,
Oh, was there an offer for that?
the town was
Oh,
gonna
that's a long
buy it.
story.
Oh, you don't know this story.
Oh, I thought the town never got around to making an offer. There was an offer, but it was,
It was at town meeting, we were gonna vote on it,
Vote it.
Yeah.
and it sold for more than we were gonna pay.
oh, I see. Huh, I didn't know that.
About like only 50K more.
Yeah,
Right,
but we could have
Anyway.
picked it up. And anyway,
Right.
so,
right. It's
okay,
one of the reasons why Tim and I have done the legwork that we have
Yep.
done, though, just to make sure that,
so
to try and get ahead of those things.
I'm not gonna ask for a vote from the board now, but in principle, it seems like you're supportive, so I'm comfortable going to CPA and saying, let's put this article on the warrant and we'll expend 350. If we need to massage the number from Housing Partnership to 60 or something like that, it seems like there's a willingness to do that.
Okay.
Now, I hate to take up more time, but so Central Mass Regional Planning is hiring a housing coordinator to serve 5 towns, as well as some other additional activities. The first year of the program is covered by a grant. So we would get 4 or 5 hours per week of a housing coordinator that would be able to work hand in hand with the housing trust as it was getting off its feet. And they would work on all types of, the language that you might put into your bylaws for the housing trust and support for efforts to deal with programs like first-time homebuyer assistance or rental assistance or aging in place assistance for seniors, that sort of thing. So it sort of jumpstarts the housing trust's ability to develop program that supports that community housing element of CPA. They want around $30,000 for 3 years of 4 or 5 hours a week of support. If you calculate that out, it gets to be a scary figure, but they're going to pay the individual somewhere around $65,000 with the benefits at the commission, but particularly with indirect costs for the commission, it escalates the total package significantly. So Grafton, Mendon, Shrewsbury, and Auburn are interested in participating, and they wanted to know if we're interested. So CPA has been talking about spending $20,000 out of CPA, out of housing, but then trying to use some of Eloise's money out of the housing partnership to make up the difference. And again, that comes back to the planning board. So I wanted to throw that at folks and see if there was an appetite for that.
How much would we spend again?
Probably around 10.
10 per year.
No, 10 total. And it wouldn't be until the second and third year. So it'd be 5,000 a year for 2 years.
Okay.
And then CPA would spend 10 the first year and 10 the second year. And we wouldn't spend.
Right,
anything
and they
the
would
first year.
basically train the housing trust
Right.
and how to be a housing trust.
And then we'd do it on our own. I've said to the commission, and I can understand why you would want to have some sort of sense that people would hang around for the 3 years, because that's part of the project. But my goal at that point would be to try to do more of that in-house somehow and not work with the commission and let you pick up other towns with that housing coordinator and have, you could work with, instead of this initial 5, you'd spread out and begin to do more towns and cut off from some of the first ones.
Right, because they've asked for a 3-year commitment.
Yeah. Watch out.
I know. My bobcat.
So I wanted to get people's impression about that one.
I think it's a good idea.
Are you recommending it? Yeah.
I guess I would say I would,
Oh.
especially because it takes the onus of getting the housing trust up and off the ground, off of us who've never done this, and puts it in the hands of people who have. And I think it's a good, it'll give us a much better foundation. And so like with CPA, we've been kind of groping in the dark for the past couple of years, and we do have some, so we definitely do have support from CPA Coalition, and Margaret had some knowledge, but it's been a bit of a slog. And to
Well,
not
we've made mistakes in the way in which we've approved some projects that weren't vetted to the degree they needed to be, and we'll be fine. It's just that it's going to take them a lot longer to get going than it should have.
right.
And that's what I think Carolyn and I'd like to prevent with the housing trust. I could see the housing trust having an advisory group in addition to the 5 members of other town people that would be on call, that it might give other advice. There might be realtors or, people in construction or lawyers or, whatever. So that's valuable. And then they've got the Assabet Regional Housing Collaborative that helps them manage their subsidized housing inventory. So some of that nuts and bolts maintenance stuff is off the table. They can really explore all these programmatic options with this coordinator, and I just think they'll advance far quicker. They won't be trying to learn each step of the way by themselves, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
And again, it's nothing, we wouldn't have to actively vote to expend any of the housing partnership money until a year and a half from now almost, and it would be $5,000. So it's a ways off. But I just, if people are comfortable, then I will, that's and the housing partnership is going to have to, the CPA isn't going to have to vote on this other than in principle at our next meeting, just so we can say to Central Mass that the willingness is there on the part of the people that are going to approve it in a year to let it go forward. So Kristen's in support. The Finance Committee felt comfortable with it. So if we're comfortable too, I think that puts us in good position. I apologize. That's all I have.
all right.
We ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, it's a long drive home,
Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
As I have been pointed out in the past, it's not a discussion item, so I'll ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye.